welcome to another episode. Today I have Vitalii and Andrii from Ukie Painting. So guys, welcome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Jerry. It's we actually postponed our meeting since probably like a few months back. Kind of like went back and forth on doing that, but happy to be here. It's our first podcast for myself and Andrii, and it's gonna be fun. It seems like fun already.
Yeah, definitely. It all depends on where we take the conversation and where you kind of head with that. But first I want to start with, you both are co-owners of Ukie Painting. How did Ukie Painting kind of originate?
Andrii, would you like to start with that?
Yeah. So
And bring your mic.
Vitalii moved to Charlotte in 2020, right? Or 2020. And then by that time I was living in Key West, Florida. And before that we had a little business. We used to make soap and sell it in the gift shops around Key West.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our little business. That was our first attempt to do any business. So we sold that company for very little money, but we sold it. And then when Vitalii lived in Charlotte, I moved over here and we wanted to do IT.
Okay.
So we decided we're going to take IT classes and become software testers.
Okay.
So we both took those classes, including one of our friend from DC, Andrii. So we took those classes, and then as we were looking for work, I was running out of my money.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Vitalii, hey Vitalii, let's paint a few houses, because I had experience working as a painter, so we can have some kind of money to live for, and then we can keep working on looking for IT work.
Okay.
And then it just happened that we never got back to IT. We just started painting and then keep on going, and we had more projects, and that's how I remember. What do you remember?
You know what? I'm probably gonna be taking conversation a little bit like back every time, and I think
That's fine.
that's what
That's
makes
good.
podcast fun. Is like you going like back and forth, and you
Right.
like. When he said that we were doing, we were making soap and selling soap to the stores. We actually had like 20 stores we would go to. Andrii like was very good with communicating with those stores and distributing that. But a cool story about that, and I'm not sure if we can share that, but I'm pretty sure we can. That the company that we sold like for about $5,000, but we sold it to the guy that was laundering money, and now he's in jail for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like a terrible experience for him, but that's like always, to me it's always funny that like we've had, you know, this relationship with a person that right now is in prison basically for like laundering a lot of money, like millions of dollars.
Wow.
So probably this was the reason why he bought the business, not to make soap, man.
not to make soap. He was buying it for his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, to the extent of how it started, yeah, I feel that's how it was, and it was a decision that was like very spontaneous, and just to do something, and to do something not doing for somebody, but knowing that we're doing it for ourselves. It was hard though. It was hard to begin with.
But it's almost like you had higher goals, like, okay, software testing, maybe doing some software development eventually, where there's more money in that potentially. But in the meantime, you had to make ends meet, and you were just willing to do a side hustle just to make a couple bucks, which actually turned into an actual company.
That's right, but the idea behind like going into AT, like we have had friends that, and until now we do, that are in the IT, and the way we look at it, like you do a little work and you get high reward in terms of the money. Yes, there is like a level you can get to and basically kind of stop at this level, but the way we looked at it, okay, we're not going to work much and make good money and have a freedom of time, which we don't have much right now as the business owners. But that was the idea behind going into IT. But we're glad we didn't go this route.
But I remember when I was taking those classes and thinking how I'm gonna work in IT, I knew that it was against my natural desires. Like,
Okay.
Since I remember myself, I was always dreaming about having some kind of business, like since I was little. And I knew that when I'll be working as IT, that will be not fulfilling who I am and who I want to be. So I'm really happy that it didn't work out, because who knows where it would take us. Maybe we would have now some kind of IT business by now, or we would grow in the company. But I know that we have taken the right decision by choosing painting.
And you two, you mentioned you worked together in that soap business as well. Did you know each other in Ukraine?
No.
No, we didn't. We came on a student program. What was it? How was it called?
Work and travel.
Work and travel. Work
Okay.
and travel program. We came 2 day difference. You came on the 16th, right?
15. May
15th. I came on the 18th of May in 2015, and then we kind of worked for the same company
Okay.
back up in Virginia, and we just met at one of the pool spaces where we work together, and since then we just like kind of like we haven't connected right away as a good buddies, but then once time went by, we've had a good
Yeah.
feelings, and you just moved to Florida together, and then since then we just like we're doing a lot of things together.
Yeah.
Most of the things together.
What were you doing back in Virginia? What was what type of work was that?
Lifeguard on the local community pools. Just
Okay.
watching kids and parents
Yeah.
be in the pool.
Okay. And how did you develop the relationship between you two? How did you start like trusting each other to actually go into business together?
I remember when we were in Key West and you didn't see yourself, and also you had some kind of allergy. You thought that because of the ocean water, you have the allergy, so you wanted to move to DC. Remember? And then you and I went to Outback Steakhouse in Key West, and I told you, hey Vitalii, I have this soap thing started. Let's do it together. Maybe we can do something nicer with it. And then I told you that, hey man, I would feel bad if you go to DC. And after that, you changed your mind. You didn't go to DC. And since then, we got a lot closer.
Man, if you won't tell me those like conversation, I won't ever remember them really. Like,
But you remember it now, right?
Now once you're saying it, like yeah, we had this conversation, but like once if you won't bring it up, like I won't remember that.
Man, I remember you had like a yellow and black coat. And
Yeah, that's definitely I can remember. My memory is pretty short. But I would say I'm not sure if that's answering the question in terms of like relationship, in terms of like going into first like business attempt. Probably that's how it happened. But in terms of relationship, that was pretty weird. Like in terms of like trust, I think trust is something that it doesn't happen like this. It
Right.
takes time to really develop that. But I do not recall a time where it happened, but it kind of went naturally. That's like I know that Andrii won't let me down for anything, and every year and every day I would just feel stronger in those feelings to Andrii, and I feel vice versa. It felt naturally to me, at least.
yeah, there was no moment when I would, for a second, doubt trust. Like there was no any single reason that I could say that, oh, I cannot trust Vitalii. Not for a single moment, not for a tiny small thing.
Have either one of you ever been betrayed by somebody else before this relationship?
What is betrayed?
So betrayed is when somebody kind of lets you down, but in a really
Right.
bad way.
But it happens.
Are we allowed to speak Ukrainian?
If you want to.
No, I know the meaning of word betrayed, but I never. I hear some people say, "Oh, that person betrayed me," but I've never had the.
Let you down, maybe?
It let you down, but in a really bad
In a
way.
really bad
like
way.
almost like on purpose. Not let you down by making a mistake, but let you down. Like they almost have the second motive. Like they're friends with you, but they're not true friends.
Oh, this
Kind of a thing.
This is pretty bad.
It never happened to
Yeah.
me.
Same thing. It never happened to me. I had people that let me down, like in the small things, and like I wouldn't feel comfortable with those, but like not to the extent of like.
But
big things.
also, it has to do how we take friendship. Like we don't have many friends.
Yeah.
Like American people, they talk to the person in the store. They say, "Oh, this is my friend." You know, with our culture, it's different. Before you have certain experience with the person, before you can trust the person, only then you can call them friend. So I don't give anyone a reason to betray me because I don't expect a lot from someone who I don't know enough.
Yeah.
Like only Vitalii is my friend. We have few more other close friends. I'm sure that they will not do anything bad to me. But those people who I met yesterday, why would I even think that they will why would they even give them opportunity to trust? Something like that.
You know what? My friend yesterday, he was asking me if, hey, did you call your friend to go for a run with you? Because I went for a run with Lena yesterday, and she was like, hey, did you call your friend to run with us? I'm like, what friend? She's like, Tolek. I'm like, don't call him friend. He's not my friend. And I'm like, to your extent, maybe it's a friend, but like to me, no, it's just the guy I met like a few weeks ago, and he's it's just the guy I met, and he's a good guy. I have nothing against. He's a good guy. It might go into the friendship, but it will take definitely a long time together.
Yeah, so in terms of relationships, there are different circles, right? There's acquaintances, people who you kind of met and maybe had a conversation with, and that's it. So you don't really know them. They're like acquaintances. They're like on the very outside of relationships, or even people you just don't know, which are even further out. Then you have what you could, it would be more like a scale. You may call them friends. So they're more than acquaintances, like people maybe you work with. They're closer to you in the sense where you interact with them more so. And then you can have like more your loosely tied friends, and then you have like the close friends in an inner circle, and then you have like family, like husband, wife, that kind of thing. And yeah, I think in American culture, people do, it's not even with the word friend, but I think with other words, people use words loosely. They'll say things like, "Oh, you're my buddy," when you just met him, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm not your buddy. Like we just met. Like you don't know me, I don't know you," that kind of thing. So I think the culture difference helps, or understanding the culture difference also kind of helps to understand level of relationships.
So Andrew mentioned something about like usual American people, they would like call you friend after they met you right away,
Right,
or
right.
you mentioned buddy.
Yeah.
Like you've been here since '89, you said.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate that? What do you really call a friend or a buddy or just a person that you just met? Like how much time do you need to get to the friendship or your inner circle?
So for me personally, I feel like I'm somewhat welcoming to everybody. Like I will share things about myself with almost anybody. Not everything, obviously, but just enough to kind of maybe start building a relationship. But it depends on them asking me questions. I don't volunteer information, not because I don't want to, but because of my personality. That's just kind of how I am. But when it comes to close people and not close people, maybe I've become Americanized more. So I kind of let people in too soon and then realize, maybe I shouldn't have kind of let them into kind of closeness too soon. So now that's been kind of my experience. So now I'm trying to be more like the traditional Ukrainian.
Yeah. The other question that basically follows into that, something that has to do with the age and you growing up and basically getting older, is that, and this is for myself and Andrew, I would say the same thing, that the friends that we have and the friendship that we developed, it has been on an early stage when we were teenagers or even in school. So basically, our truly friends are from like a long time ago. Like right now, for the past 5 years, like not five, even like 10 years, I didn't bring anybody else into my inner friendship circle. Um, did you?
No.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's us or that's just nature of humans. Like when you get older, it's hard to make friends.
That's what, like, did you bring any friends from like past 10, 15 years that are like your truly friends that you can call, or most of them are from the past?
So no, I have. So there's like let's say even for my family, my wife and I, there's another couple that we met a few years ago. They moved from Minnesota. Actually, before Minnesota, they moved to Poland, and then from Poland they moved to Charlotte. And we connected with them because we're in a similar part in life, so we're similar aged, and our conditions are very similar as well. Like they have some kids, we have some kids. They're going through certain things in life that are similar to what we're going through. So we really connected. And like we became close basically on that. But it's hard to find those type of people like that you can really connect and be close with. I feel like, yeah.
So you're saying it's harder when you get older to connect with people than when we were younger.
I well, when you're like a kid, a teenager, I think it's I don't know if it's easier, but if you have more opportunity, if you have a lot of kids around you, then it's easier in that sense. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's harder or easier. I think it depends on you personally,
But
how outgoing.
do you still have a friend or friends from 10, 20 years ago?
So so like I moved from Ukraine as well, right? So when I was 10, I moved. When I was in Ukraine, 10 and younger, I had a best friend, my neighbor there that we went to school with. But when I moved, we lost that connection and we're no longer friends. Then when I came to US, I became friends with some people from school. We felt like we were best buddies. But then as we kind of exited school, went different ways, I tried to reconnect and it was like it's like not the same person anymore. But then there was another friend that I had, like best friend in school, in high school, that I was connected for a long time. We were in a similar grade, but I got married younger, like sooner than he did. He got married maybe 10 years or so after me. So as soon as I got married, your circle kind of changes also. So you start becoming more friends with other people who are married, and then the single people don't necessarily want to hang out with you, or you don't potentially want to hang out. Like you have less things in common that will bring you together, it seems. So I think life, as you go through different stages in life, the people around you change as well. And then you add on to that moving, like I lived in Rochester, New York for a long time. So I did develop friendships there and so on. But what circles you're in, like I go to church, so we were going to one church, then we went to a different church, and just switching churches also affected the circle of people around you. So kind of friendships were affected that way too, like potentially some older friendships that just kind of dissipated and new friendships were developed. And then moving from Rochester to here also had a big effect on that. On you got to kind of rebuild that circle, that social circle. So it's not a clear answer there,
No,
but
it's a good answer to the extent of like where you at, and but certainly friendship is something. It's very personal thing that every person takes it to the extent of how they feel about it. Do they feel it's like it's a family, or do they feel it's like just a guy they met a
Right.
few days ago?
right. And I was asking more like you two are friends and you're working together, because it seems like a lot of times when people get together in terms of business, there's this optimism and good hopes, like, okay, we're gonna crush it, we're gonna make money, we're gonna do this and that and so on. But then when you hit a challenge in that business, then if the relationship is not that great, or people have or haven't developed like soft skills, like communication skills and crucial conversation skills and things like that, then there could be some potential blame or something like that that will create a rift in that relationship. So that's why I was asking about you guys and how it is, and how are you kind of maintaining that relationship? Like if something, I don't know, like in your business, have you had challenges? Usually in construction, there's always like something that goes wrong, right? It's not perfect, everything going perfect, right? So have you had any challenges that you had to work out together?
Andrew will answer this question pretty well, and I know that he will say there was never challenges. Like
There
in
was-
terms of there was challenges. No,
We didn't have challenge, but before we started our business, we agreed that our friendship is priority. So if there's gonna be question, if there's a problem happens in a business that can affect our friendship is a priority. That was agreement before we started doing the business. So I think that also helps us.
Definitely having expectations ahead of time and talking about them together definitely helps in that relationship, and knowing like, okay, when you do reach a challenge, how are you going to resolve it, or what's important in that case. So
Yep,
I mean,
so
that's definitely a good
It's
thing.
like we set a core value for ourselves. And also because of some people who we advised with, one of the guys who has successful painting company, he recommended us to split our responsibilities. So Vitalii is in charge of sales and marketing, and I'm in charge of production. So we have a lot of connecting points, but also we have a lot of responsibilities that we are making decisions on our own. Like in what touches production, I don't have to advise with Vitalii. I ask his opinion a lot of times on something, but I can make those decisions. I can make my mistakes. Same thing with Vitalii when it comes to sales and marketing. He does not advise me, or he can advise me, but he can make his own decisions. And I think separating responsibilities also help a lot.
That's the way you guys also.
Right. I mean,
business.
well, for me, I'm the only owner. Well, my wife and I, but she does kind of the back end financial type of responsibilities. So for the most part, I'm running the sales and production and so on. But yeah, I've had people who were just taking care of production, and another person who, well, it's me basically taking care of sales, that kind of thing. So
The last time I was here, like what, a year ago or so, like I met a person. I'm not sure if you guys
Roman?
yeah, worked together. That he was like in charge of production. It seemed like you guys separated two things very very well, because like he was like, okay, this is my space, like no one's coming in here, and you're like, okay, this is my space, no one's coming in here. That's how I remember that.
yeah, unless you're talking about Russ way back.
Maybe, because I remember this conversation, because I remember
You told me about
yeah,
this.
I called and was like, hey, that's pretty cool. Like they even have two separate doors into their offices, and like they do not connect. Like they, like when you came to the production, like this is production, no sales here. This is sales, no production here. We're not talking about that. I think this is pretty cool.
So I would just add some comments to that, and that is that happened not intentionally. And what I would say is you actually don't want to separate it. You want to separate the roles and the tasks, but you don't want to separate people. You want salespeople to interact with production people and vice versa. You don't want to put them into silos where potentially you can have, if there's a mistake, let's say a sales guy like sold the job improperly with not enough profit or whatever it is, then production will be upset about it at that person. Or there's a mistake on the production side and the sales rep, depending on how the commission is structured and all that, doesn't make as much on the sale because of production, then there will be a conflict. So you want them to work together to cover each other's backs, not just be like, well, that's their fault or that's their fault.
I agree. Yeah, it's I was referring to separating just the spaces, and whatever you guys do in sales, you guys do in sales. But definitely, the business wouldn't operate if you would just separate. Like, hey, we sales, and you guys do whatever you want. And
Right,
yeah.
right.
But what do you think helps our relationship? Like we never had argument, man. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like we, and that's answering your question. We have challenges, like, there are challenges, like, in business, there are daily challenges, but the way you approach them, like, we are pretty positive-minded people. Like, if there is a challenge, like, we usually, like, wow, like, not like, wow, what are we doing? Like, this is your fault, this is your fault. Like, we just like, okay, we have this issue, okay, what's going on, how we can resolve that? Here's the way how we can do it, let's talk about it. So usually that's the way it goes. Like, there is no blame, there is no, like, going backwards and thinking about how bad situation is. It's just like about, okay, how we can resolve it, and let's do it. So it's just, I think that what helps.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do that none of us tend to blame someone for anything. We always take responsibility on ourselves.
Yeah.
That has a lot to do with that.
What kind of personalities are you? Have you done any kind of personality assessment tests?
No, I
No.
have not.
We can take one right now. or you can give us an assessment, like, from conversations we have had so far.
Well, it's a little hard. Like you have to spend more time to kind of guess it. But there's personality tests out there. Like one portion of a personality test is extroversion and introversion. What would you say that you are, each one of you, like introverted or extroverted?
Well, I feel like depending on my mood, sometimes I can be extroverted, and sometimes I don't want to talk with anyone. I want to be with myself. But overall, I feel like I'm more introverted than extroverted. What do you think?
Same way. I wouldn't say a different word about it. Like really, sometimes like the position I have and position that Andrew have, it's always interaction with people. Every day there is interaction with people. Andrew usually interacts more with people that he sees every day and more of like on in terms of employees base. Like this is daily interaction with same people. On my side, I interact with a bunch of people that I do not know, and I have to make a good connection with them. So we definitely talk to a lot of people, and on the inside of myself, I would say like I'm more extrovert, and I would say same thing about Andrew, like in general, just from the way I know Andrew. But the positions that we have, basically introverted, and we have no issues with that.
But also, I feel like it would help us if we can become more like outgoing, more
Yeah,
extroverted.
absolutely.
I
Will
would really
hurt.
want to work on that so I can talk to groups of people. Like, I think good leader has to be kind of extrovert, or at least can have that switch when he can become an extrovert.
Yeah, I think being extroverted or introverted is something you're kind of born with, but you can it's not like something you have to be stuck with. Like you can be introverted and still talk to a lot of people. But the way they define it is if you go to a party with lots of people, where would you stand? Let's say in this room you have, I don't know, 25 people. Where would you stand like in that room? Like where would you be
I would stand where
physically?
my people are. Like if I have my friends staying in the middle, I would stand in the middle. If they're in the corner, I would go to the corner. But
Okay.
if I don't know anyone, I would just try to walk and see if there is someone who I kind of like, who I can make conversation with, and try to connect with someone.
Okay.
Does it say who I am?
Maybe a little bit. But before I answer, like Vitaly, what about you?
Again, I wouldn't feel comfortable like to approach just a stranger, but I will make myself to approach a stranger. So that's the way I would make my mind. Like I know that that would make only a positive impact just to talk to somebody. And again, I would probably feel a little bit uncomfortable and will have to get out a little bit of my comfort zone to go and talk to somebody. But I'm gonna have no issues going and say, "Hey, I'm Vitaly. What's your name? Let's know each other." Like I
Yeah.
will have no problems with that.
So if you have a purpose behind connecting with people, you will go and do it. But let's say, I don't know, some other friend invites both of you to a party, not business, just some kind of party with a bunch of people. Well, first, would you even go? And then two, if you do go, where would you stand in the room?
That's a good question. Um, Depends what friend invited. Um, Depends on what friend invited. Really depends on like if
So
it's
let's say it's a close friend, but the party is with people you don't know. So the friend is you know your friend and you're somewhat close, like not super close, but close enough. But you go to a place where you don't know anybody there, other than your friend.
yeah. I went to those kind of things, and you did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there are some interesting people I can meet, why not to go there and just talk to other people and introduce myself to some people? I think that's something I have to push myself, but I like doing that.
Funny story. So there was actually it wasn't a huge party. It was like a smaller kind of like thing going on. Like I knew a person. He invited me to go over just to play some games, but I didn't know anybody else but this person. Went there and end up there was a guy that actually lived in Key West from 2015 to 2016, and he knows a lot of people that I know from Key West, and like he lives here in Charlotte now. He's from Ukraine as well, so like that kind of stuff. Like, but definitely will talk to those people and meet those people. Again, maybe a little bit not comfortable, but still yes.
Yeah. So basically, the that question kind of goes at like if you want to be in the middle of the room and you want to be kind of the life of the party, then you're definitely extroverted. But if you kind of just kind of stay in the sides of the room and especially if you don't have any intent to network with anybody and only people come to you, then you're more introverted, kind of a thing. So it's, I mean, again, this is just like a sliver of a test. But yeah, it seems like definitely you guys are getting out of your comfort zone and running a business, talking to a lot of people and all that. You have to do that. Yeah.
Can we take a minute and advertise this out coffee right here. So I'll take the microphone. So it's actually a good advertisement right here. So Astoria Coffee Shop. It's a small.
You can look at that camera right now.
Okay, it's a small coffee shop that has been opened next to Ace Hardware in Indian Trail. It has been opened by Dennis and Vanessa, right? They make a great coffee. We've been enjoying it already a few times. So if you have a chance, go and check them out, right? All right. There we go.
So they're not sponsoring us, but we're giving them a shout out.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you guys have developed that friendship. You're running the business pretty well. What are some key things that you've learned since starting Ukie Painting that's like helping you in business? What are some lessons you've learned?
Andrew, please.
You give me the hard ones. It's actually hard to say something specific. What are those things?
Man, you always bring up a first conversation with what's the guy's name that we made a call for $400?
Garrett Martel.
Garrett Martel. You always bring this up, that it helped a lot to boost up. I like this story a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think it helps just to so what we're trying to do in our life, like when it comes to sport, personal life, business, somebody has already done it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's somebody who had similar story, somebody who have success, and somebody who have failed. So what I think is smart to do is just to copy and paste those people who have succeeded in something. And in this modern world, we can always watch YouTube, we can read books and just learn from other people. And I really always like to listen to different podcasts or interviews with people who have done something great in their life. And one time I was listening to Garrett Martel podcast. He is the guy who he has now like company $10 million in revenue and with the net profit of 25% when he is not involved in the business. That's insane. So we were listening to that podcast, and then in the end he said, if you want to connect to me, if you have any questions, this is my cell phone. So I texted him, and apparently his consultation was $500. And at that time we were like, man, what this guy allows to himself, like $500. And then somehow we got to the price of $300 for consultation. So like at that time it was a lot of money for us. Like we were thinking a lot about that.
If to do that or not.
Yeah. So then we got on the phone, we spoke with him, he asked what we do, how we do it, and he recommended us certain things to do. As I mentioned earlier, one of them was to split. Vitalii takes sales and marketing, I take production. So I think that was one good thing that we learned from him, and just overall I think it's nice to learn from somebody else's experiences. What do you have to say?
I have to say that I agree with that, and I basically knew that you like talk about like just listening to other people and having a good conversations and copy pasting what other people already have done, and that what helped us a lot. There is a huge, massive organization that is called PCA, Painting Contractor Association, and again, Mr. Martel told us about this organization, and we just signed up. There was a lot of money to sign up. We went there. It was like we usually spend, like last year we spent about $4,000, me and Andrew, to go there just to talk to like-minded people and listen to people that have done it before and have done it on a higher level. It's like 3 days conference with only painting contractors in there. 90% of painting contractors. So we're going there every year, and that's what helps a lot. Every year we feel like we're picking up less, but the first year was crucial for us to bring up a lot back to the business. So that helps a lot.
Networking with others in the industry.
Yeah, like-minded people going to those conferences. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think mindset of always learning is very helpful. Like now, I started reading this book. It's called E-Myth, Michael Gerber. I'm not sure if you've heard of this book or read it, but he was saying about structures in a business, and I'm under huge effect of this business, of this book now. And now me and Vitalii are talking, oh, we need to implement this, we need to implement that. So once we do that, there's going to be another book or another person that we can learn from, and hopefully we can make some changes that help our business. So I think that learning all the time and implementing those things are very crucial.
So, as far as each one of you and your outlook on life, your mindset, being positive, being open-minded, were you always like that, or was there some change in your life that caused you to be that way?
Quick, short answer. I would say always like that. I mean, little things help, and like-minded people and positive people help you to stay this way. Of course, you will be if you will be under influence of people that really negative all the time, and like you're probably gonna get closer to that. But since we are positive thinking people and we're trying to surround ourselves with such people, I feel like I always been that kind of person. And
Yeah.
since I know Andrew, same thing.
And I think it helps that in the very beginning, like I said, since I was a kid, I had this idea of having a business. So that kind of put uh, location, kind of like address in my GPS where I want to go.
Mhm.
All I don't know the road, how to get there, but I have the location. So then as I go in my life, I can see people who are heading the same direction. And if I see that they have the same values, I can connect with those people, talk to those people. And I think that helped me a lot because through my life, since I moved to America, I've never had any bad people in my life. Always, I had really good managers in some of the business where I worked, and a lot of them were good examples for me. So I can say that I'm very fortunate that I had really nice people who I can learn from. And one of them obviously is Vitalii, and then we have other friends who I think they helped me with that.
Mhm. How old were you guys when you moved to US? How old were you at that time?
18?
19.
18.
I was 19, you were 18.
Uh-huh.
I was like 3 months
Oh,
older.
yeah, right.
And I mean, you don't have to answer this question, but why did you move to US? If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But
It's a
if you,
country of opportunities, man. Like, I was not born, how they say, with a silver spoon.
yeah.
There was no silver spoon. So I knew that I have to be looking for opportunities, and America is, I think it's the number one place for that.
Yeah, I told my mom, right, like once I heard about this program, there was another student in my classroom that told me about this program, and once I figured out and signed up for it, I told my mom, "Hey, I'm going and I'm not coming back. It's not a joke." And she didn't believe
Yeah.
me. She didn't.
Same here. My mom didn't believe me
Yeah,
too.
like I was in Ukraine, already got my visa, and like, hey, I'm not coming back. And then when time came to go back to Ukraine, and I was supposed to get on a plane, and Andrew as well, like we're not going back. They start crying and just like going crazy. But yeah, we never came back until like later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is, so I came to US in '89. I was 10 years old by then. So my first 10 years I lived in Ukraine. And '89, Ukraine was still part of USSR. So it's not its own country. It was still USSR. And coming from a Christian family, I heard a lot of stories of persecution within the family, of how the communists basically persecuted anybody who was Christian or any kind of religion. So it seems to me like my parents or grandparents, because they went through those challenges, plus the grandparents were coming out of World War II, and then the parents were born around that time. So there's a lot of like trauma happening during that time. So I feel like how much of that had an effect on my parents, the way they raised me. And then like versus for you guys, you were born in a free country. Like I was born in a communist country. You were born in a free country, even though we were born in the same country. So like what was your upbringing like over there?
Like back in Ukraine, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've I've had a happy life in Ukraine. I never had any issues with anything. I feel like I was a happy kid doing whatever I wanted and never had any issues with anything. That's how I feel about it. Like I really miss home for a lot of things, a lot of traditional things, and like something that's like Ukrainians do. But I don't know, I didn't feel any kind of pressure from anybody back in Ukraine. It always was like, as you mentioned, like free country, do whatever you want. And I always liked Ukraine, and I still love Ukraine. And one day I'll be going back. Who knows? That's how I feel about it.
But we had different stories as we grew up. Like you have both parents, and you were only child.
Yeah.
So like all attention, a lot of went towards you, like even financial. With me, I was, my mom was, and 3 kids. So our father didn't help us much. They divorced, and that was kind of all the time when I was growing up. Like for winter season, I would have one pair of shoes for winter. You know, it sounds crazy to hear in America, but it was the story. And then, like every time September comes, my mom is stressing out because she needs to buy books, all that, you know, preparing for school, buy clothes. So that was hard, and she had not only me but 2 other one, my siblings.
But did you feel that pressure?
Man, we had to bake bread in our
No,
house.
when you were no, like I understand that like this is the reality and this is like what happened and you like you know that. But like back then when you were a kid, did you feel that pressure like that something's
Not
not
pressure.
enough or like you need more and other people have it and you don't and you feel bad about
Yeah.
it? Did you have that?
Yeah, because I see we hang out with the other kids in the like in front of the house in the playground, and I see that other kids have like nice bikes. There was a guy who had phone. You know, like you see other kids how they live, and you understand that you don't have that. You know, and then I have to go to plant potato, like work on the farm. You know that
In the field, yeah.
yeah. I think it's a good thing looking back. Like I'm really happy for my childhood and how everything went, but I think it was kind of make me hungry and eager to like have something in my life. So I think that had a lot to do in like that I'm always like trying to get something.
What about in terms of parents or adults? Would you say that you had a lot of positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement? So I'll give you my example. So again, I feel like because of what my parents and grandparents went through, there was a lot of negativity. There was like, you know, always be afraid of the government, be afraid of what you say, because they could, you know, take you, do this, that, whatever. So there's a lot of like fear, a lot of negativity that was pushed on me, I feel. And then, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to blame my parents or anything like that. They did the best they could, but it feels like, you know, if you didn't do something perfectly, then, you know, you're not good enough or whatever, stuff like that. Did you have any kind of that kind of negativity from parents or other authority figures in your life when you were younger? Or did you have like positive reinforcement, like, okay, you made a mistake, no issue here. You know, this is how you should do it the right way. Next time, do it the right way. So you kind of like positive reinforcement versus negative. What was both of your childhood like from your parents and other adult or authority figures?
I'll start. So with me, luckily I didn't spend much time with my father because he was criticizing so much. If I had him, probably I would be devastated. I would have become a different person. But my mom, she was always that kind of person that says that glasses always half full. And my grandma, she had a lot to do in the way I was raised. She would always tell me, when you grow up, you're gonna have it. Like when you grow up, you will do this. She's like, just work hard, study, have right friends with you. Like she would always say, don't drink too much, because that was the problem back then. Like people would drink a lot.
Yeah.
So I think I had really positive influence from my family.
The only thing that I will talk about my family, but I will add to the side of family Andriy, because I know personally his mom and his grandma and his sister and his brother. I haven't met brother in person, but I feel like I've met him before for some reason. Like I've heard so many stories and I hear him on the phone a lot, and I can probably speak of him a little bit. But like by Andriy speaking of his mom highly about like positive attitude and everything like that, his sister and his brother are totally different people from the way Andriy is. Like totally different people. Like you wouldn't say. I wouldn't say in terms of attitude, but I would say in terms of like the way all of them think and see the world. It's totally different people, but they have been raised with the same mom and the same grandma, and not basically the dad. Maybe the brother was right a little bit with the dad.
A little bit till they were like 8.
In terms of like my parents, I lived with my mom, my dad, and my grandma. all the time. Again, no pressure in terms of like government or saying anything about like outside of the family. But my dad is very, I would say, he's definitely introvert, 100% introvert. Like he won't talk to people. Like he is the person. Like if he'll be invited somewhere, like he will be standing in the corner and not talking to anybody unless somebody came over and talked to him. And I don't think so. It got to me anyhow. Like I always was like opposed to what he would be saying, or like he wouldn't really get into my education, and then he would open my like diary or whatever it's called from the school, and he will see like
Like a grade book.
yeah, and he would see that I have something from the teacher that like it's not good in school, and he would be like he would like kick me, right? And those little things that will have, I would say, a little bit of negative impact. But my mom was also always positive, the same way as grandma. Like it was like a bad and good policeman, I would say. That's the way it was, but not in a bad way. Just like a little bit, just kind of shaking.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit of shake, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the reason why I'm asking that question more so is, again, kind of like your environment shapes you, but when you get to a certain age, then you have full control of yourself. Sure, you've established certain habits, certain way of thinking, but you can always change if you want to. So, and having multiple siblings, I can relate to you. Like there's 6 of us total. So I'm one of 6, and everybody is different. And I feel like I'm like different from my other siblings. Some of them, think differently than I do, and so on, and have different outlook on life and stuff like that. So it's even if you grow up in the same household, well, first your parents are growing up or getting older with different siblings, because like my oldest brother is 10 years older than me or so, and then I have a couple sisters that are younger than me. So as the parents kind of get older, they learn. Like the oldest one, they don't know much about how to raise kids, and then they kind of learn as you go down. But yeah, even if you are in the same environment, you can still pick your way.
Yeah. And I can relate to that because my mom, she used to beat my sister and brother. She never beat me, never in my life.
Oh, that's why.
She said because I was behaving well, but I think I was behaving well because I was never had any.
Because you have seen how she's beating
Maybe.
your brother. She's like, okay, I'm staying out of trouble.
Yeah, maybe.
Are you the youngest?
Yeah.
Okay, so youngest usually, I feel like the youngest one gets the easy way out. Like it's easiest for the youngest. It
Probably
seems.
because parents have more experience, or they just care less now.
They just fired like whatever.
It's both. Like, so I have 4 kids myself, and with the first one, we were like, oh, we didn't know what we were doing. We were kind of strict with her and that kind of thing. And then with the youngest one, he's just there. I mean, we still talk and so on, but like how I raise my youngest one versus my oldest one is very different. So yeah. What are some interesting stories that you guys may have from Ukraine?
From Ukraine.
Like growing up.
Interesting to what extent? Can you give an example of your story so we know where we're going with that?
Sure. So here's one story that I have. So this was before moving to US. So I was definitely less than 10 years old. My brother had a best friend that lived in a neighboring town, or maybe 2 towns over, and there was a railroad. They called it ruta, something like that, whatever. So I think that's what they called it. But I went there with my brother or whoever else a couple times on that little train. And one day I decided I wanted to visit my brother's friend, because we kind of made a connection, or at least I knew him pretty well. I wanted to visit him, and I just went by myself. So I don't know if I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, something like that, and just kind of left the house, went to neighboring town. Like if my kids did that here, I'd be like at 10 or 7 years old, 8 year old, like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And that's what I like about living back home, because you can jump on a trolley bus. and you can get to a different part of the city when you're 10. Like here, you locked in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like kids have more interesting, yes, it's a bit more dangerous, but more interesting childhood back home in Ukraine. But about the story, since we're talking about, it's kind of entrepreneurial podcast, so I can say it, since like I said earlier, I was always oriented to have some kind of business. When I was like 10 years old, me and my friend, we grew hamsters in our house, and then we would sell them in the market. And nobody would buy them for some reason. Like people, we were so young, like literally 10, 11 years old, standing in the market, and people would not buy anything from us, but they would buy from a next person right to us who was adult. Like we found it so unfair that it's the same thing. Why didn't
Yeah.
buy from us? And then later, when I was in the 10th grade, me and a friend of mine, Slavik, we had a little like mojito shop in also next to the market.
What is that?
It's a mojito, drink mojito.
Okay.
So we would make mojito for people walking to the market.
Uh-huh.
So that was like a try to make some kind of money. But the problem at that time was ice. We didn't have ice. Like back in Ukraine, you cannot buy ice in a store like you can buy here. So when ice melts or when we're done with ice, we'd have to go home. Like our business was done. So that was a nice try. And then I had a little business when I had someone living next to Moldovan border, and I would buy alcohol for me without taxes, like no
Duty free.
duty free, yes. And then he would send it alcohol. I would sell to my friends when I was like 16. I sold it alcohol to my friends, and then for profit I would buy like extra bottle and drink with my friends, with other friends. So I think that was fun.
Yeah, it's if we're gonna go into this direction, there's like funny story that like we can both of us definitely can share. But if we're gonna go in that entrepreneur stuff, like I never had anything like open up, like, because when Andrii, like I've seen the picture of mojito shop with him standing, that really looked like, you know, a cool idea behind it. Definitely those are illegal things that you would have all of them. Like if you'd have done them here, like you cannot. Back then, yeah, cool. Small things that I have done in that kind of case, like I don't know why now I love it, but I do not know why back then I didn't like the taste of the sandwiches that my father would make for me, and he would always give it to me when I go to school. So I always take it and I always sell it to my friends, and I would ask my friend to make a few for me so I can sell them, so I can buy some pirogi in that case. The other story in terms of like buying selling things, it was just like it was a lot of secondhand, like how do you call those in
Thrift shop.
thrift shop,
Thrift,
yeah, thrift
yeah.
shop, yeah. So there was a bunch of thrift shop and it was very popular. I was into the brand all the time, like having the brand on myself, and I knew about the brand a lot. So I would just go to the brand, and back then it was when I was like 15, 16, Nova Pochta opened, and it was a very popular way to list it on things like Ukrainian eBay, and you just sell it. So that was a very successful thing for a little bit. But in that case, that's nothing else that I have done in that way. But there was a lot of funny stories that have been just outside, just having fun with friends. A lot of stupid stories though.
So give us one of them.
One of them, I feel like in stages, there was always in stages something would come, something would be a more popular and less popular. And at some point, a very popular thing was like hooligans, football hooligans. And I wasn't like the exact part of like hooligan, but I always wanted to be like a part of that. And I was kind of trying to stick with one of the teams, and we would just go and fight against other guys, which was a pretty stupid thing to do, which is like a bunch of guys going against a bunch of other guys, which is pretty stupid. But I think that was a funny stage that like it just explains how the way the communities work in Ukraine. Like you would just get into something stupid and you would do it for just having fun.
And that's crazy that police wouldn't control that. Like
Yeah.
there are 10 people fighting against 10 people, and nobody would think about police.
When it get to the university stage, it was for you it was probably more fun because it was in
Yeah, I
In
moved
dor-
to
in
Capital,
dorm.
live in a dorm,
Yeah.
hanging out with all the guys and girls. It was fun. It's nice.
but yeah, it was when we get to the university, it was fun to just like have a feeling of just like, you know, hanging out with friends and just going out and have that feeling of you like, you know, you're having fun.
Yeah. But then when we moved to US, it was awesome.
Yeah, that was
It was America. Like summer 2015, I think was my best summer in my life. It was incredible.
What made it your best summer?
We had a group of people about same age. It was like 30 of us probably. We had all the freedom, yet we had to do work. Like we had to go to work, but we had few cars. We were making our own money, and we would just hang out all the time, just have good time together. And also America, you know, when you come in after Ukraine, you see in America it's a different world. There's so many cool things, so many things to see, to try. Just it was
So the
incredible.
novelty of it, like the newness of
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah.
We would just buy Pringles. We would just like, wow, Pringles, wow.
Back
Pringles.
home, they're
Yeah.
not easy to get. You know, they're expensive.
Like when we just got it was really crazy. Like we would, I remember Andrii. He was like he didn't want to break $10 bill because he would spend this $10 bill. Like we would we would very cautious of the money, wouldn't spend money, and just have fun with the community. And like very small things in America will make us very happy. Any novelty things will make us very happy.
And that's actually, I think, interesting story. When I was going to United States, the work and travel program was like $3,000. You know, for my mom, she didn't have $3,000. So I called my father. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna give you." Like, so then I start working on this work and travel thing, and then I call him. Hey, like, I went to him. He like, "Are you gonna give me the money?" He said, "No, I changed my mind." Like,
Wow.
okay. So then I went. I was like crying, calling my mother. She's like, "We're gonna figure something out." So she had list of people written down in her notepad, how much each person borrowed her. So she borrowed $3,000, and that was still risky. If I wouldn't get a visa approved, we would lose like $700, which was not a lot, but still back home it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So my mom borrowed all this money. She had list of people who she needs to pay back, and my goal was while I was at the work and travel to pay it back. So we were getting paid like $8.25 per hour, $7.25,
825, yeah.
something like that. And somehow I had to save $3,000 during the summer. So that's why I was so afraid to break $10 bill, because I knew that I'm gonna spend it. So I would keep all the cash that I had.
Yeah. So you guys moved to US in 2015, right?
Yeah.
So 2014, the Orange Revolution happened, right?
No, Orange Revolution happened 2004.
4?
Yeah,
Oh, 4,
there was
4.
the Revolution of Hiddenness 2014.
Or what?
It was
What
the
am I
second
thinking?
one.
What is it?
It's like a revolution of honor. They say it's something like that.
That was against Yanukovych, right?
Yeah,
2014.
yeah.
It
Because
was
2004 there was before Yushchenko became president.
Yeah.
So that was
Oh
Orange
yeah.
Revolution.
So yeah, I'm confusing that. So right, not Orange Revolution, but the other one, where basically Russia came in, took Crimea, then took Donbass and all that.
Yeah.
And took it in a way like, oh, it's not us, right? Like the little green men. What was your view on it then, and what is it now?
For me, tough question. I haven't had any view too much personally. Back then, there was things going on around, but I haven't had a very strict view on that back then. Right now, I mean, with everything that's going on, with the war and everything, it's just terrible. We can talk about it probably for hours, but nothing good I can tell about it. Like, I don't have any good feelings about it. I feel like same thing. To be short, Russia is a bad guys, Ukraine good guys supported by other good guys. It's like very, very simple not to go into it, and that's the way I will view it. But there could be conversations back and forth about certain situations in general, but killing people, what's good about it? Nothing good about it.
And I'm sure that you had view on that, and I had some kind of view, and I just cannot remember what it was, to be honest, since it was so long ago, and I had other problems going on, you know, when you're in college and stuff. So I cannot remember. But I can say that I don't agree with you. You said it's like bad guys and good guys. I really hate to separate world with black and white. I think there's a lot more different shades of gray. So I think Ukraine is gray, Russia is a lot darker gray, but I think it's both. There's no white or black, in my opinion.
To going back to it, like if we'll talk about certain situation, corruption, all of that shit, like there is definitely a lot of gray, but like in general, like getting into somebody's country and killing people,
Yeah.
like in general, bad and good, the way I see it. In the middle of what's going on, like there is a lot of shades, but in general, like that's the way I view it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look at it from like history, I guess. When I grew up under USSR, under communism. So okay, so today they say Russia is not communistic, but the way the way there's like no freedom of speech, there's like limited freedoms in there. Being a Ukrainian, I definitely would not want Russia to control Ukraine. Like, I mean, I like freedom. I think most people like freedom, individual freedom, being able to do what you want to do, you know, as long as you're not hurting anybody and that kind of thing. So having Russia come in, trying to take over Ukraine and then control it, and the way Russia is, you know, the government of Russia is running Russia, or Putin's running Russia, it's not like, if I had to live in Ukraine, I would not want to live under those circumstances. So from that perspective, definitely want Ukraine to be free and independent. I think a lot of American people, well, American people are kind of split, I guess, half and half or whatever, Democrats versus Republicans and all of that. But for me personally, like, I have conservative views, but I don't agree with conservatives on not supporting Ukraine. I mean, obviously I'm biased being Ukrainian and so on, but at the same time, like you were saying, you're right, like Russia came in, killed off not just like the military, they killed civilians, bombed buildings, destroyed, like Mariupol was destroyed, like every place they went, they destroyed the city. I mean that.
The other interesting thing that has to do with just a very recent event, which is debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Basically, like, of course they bring up a lot of like lies and stuff, but like they always bring up, oh, how much money was donated to Ukraine? It's crazy, like they stealing money. If you're gonna take a look into the federal budget, the federal budget is trillions of money. The money that has been given to Ukraine is only 1.2% out of the whole budget that they have had for a European country that is in a huge war, and for the aggressor that's going into the war. And there is 65% that going into the social securities of no one knows where it's going. Like, it's social security, it's like people that are homeless, people that like cannot get their things together. Like, no one knows about that and no one talks about that. But 1.2%, they make such a huge deal out of course it's going out of the country, it's not staying in the country. Of course it's money out there, but it's 1.2% for the country that every day people are being killed. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, talking about 1.2%, and you're not talking about 65%, which who knows where they're going.
But also a lot of American people think that, or this money that are given, I forgot where I was going with that.
I mean, I can help you probably with that. So a lot of the money that's given to Ukraine is not actual dollars. It's given in military equipment. And what they do is they give the old military stock to Ukraine, and then that new money is assigned to building new tanks, new equipment, all that kind of stuff.
Smart. Of course.
So here's what I wanted to say, that a lot of people think that when we're giving this money, they are helping Ukraine. Yes, they're helping Ukraine, but there is no, in this level of relationship, when it comes to politics, when it comes to countries, I don't think there is any moral feelings or good feelings to each other. America is doing that in their own best interest because they know it helps them. Nobody's helping by millions of dollars just because they feel bad of some country. At the first place, they need it, and they help themselves by sponsoring all this stuff.
Yeah, the politician will make you think that they're that they have some feelings for people who are dying and so on, that they're giving the money because of the feelings or because they want to help people, not just their own self-interest, right? Like, so that's how they sell it to the public. But
the way I brought it up, so those are the gray areas. Those are the gray areas which, like, if we're gonna get deep into it, the corruption, all of the money, what they're talking about, lying to people, all of that stuff, it's out there. But like, if we're gonna take a general idea of that, it's like it's terrible what's going on. But you can just dig into it.
yeah. So we talked a little bit. Well, we talked before the recording about religion or not being religious. You guys said, or Vitalii, you said that you're not religious. So describe what that means to you.
What it means to me, what means to me being religious or not religious, or religion in general.
Well, for you personally, like,
yeah, for me personally. So to a lot of people, to the extent being religious is being tied or assigned to a church or a place or something like that. So in a very short answer, I'm just not assigning myself or tying myself to any church or any organization or a pastor or something like that. In terms of like believing or not, I more believe into my strength, but like there is like a feeling that there is something out there that if I feel positive, if I think about some good changes around me, like kind of like something surrounding helps a little bit, but I never make it that something helps me out. Like I help myself and I believe in myself, so I do believe, but it's more of like myself and being human being. But religious as like a physical place to go, and that's something that I do not believe in. I hope that answers the question. Maybe I didn't
do you
explain
believe
myself.
Yeah,
well,
do you
but
believe in a God?
in God? No. Like if you're gonna say like God as God by Bible, no.
May I ask you which God you're talking about?
Which God?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm a Christian, so
Right.
for me, God is a triune God, three parts, or like three persons of God. So God, the Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus.
If you look back, like, or if you look just from the side on yourself, what has determined that you believe in this God? What circumstances?
What circumstances?
Yeah. I can answer for you.
Okay, go for it.
Place where you were born,
Okay.
family where you were born, and time when you were born, right?
Okay.
So if you were born in, let's say, any Arabic country, let's say you were born in Somalia, or African country, you would have totally different views on your religion, right? If you were born in Ukraine 1,000 years ago, they were believing in many gods. So I'm pretty sure that if you were born in Ukraine 1,000 years ago, you would believe in the god of rain, god of trees, god of all these different things, right? And then if you were born in, I don't know, any other country, China, you would have your own views, right? If you were born in Islamic country, you would be Muslim. So what kind of truth there can be that can be determined by the time and place when you were born?
So I think that God reveals himself to each individual person in a different way. Like even through nature, when you look out at nature, look at the world, the way it works, and I don't mean like the human part of like governments and things like that. I mean more like on the natural side, like how a tree grows, how animals behave and things like that. Like when you look at that, it's hard to think that all of that came from nothing, like that it just spontaneously happened and there's no God.
But also
Like,
it's hard to believe that one person was able to create it. And another question, if everything created by God, who created God? You know,
well,
so
right. So there's a way to look at that. Like if you look at everything that's physical, is God physical and inside of that same box? Or is God outside of that box? If God is inside of that box, yeah, then who created him? But if he's outside of the box, he's always been there. So he created this box, our universe.
It sounds like fairy tale.
Fairy tale.
Yeah, like just to be nice. I think it sounds like a fairy tale. Like I read Bible. I started reading Bible, but then I was not able to read it. Um, on the first day, God creates light and darkness.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yeah.
On day number 3 or 4, He creates stars, moon, sun.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You don't have to be very smart to ask this question. Where there was a light, how there was a light, if there was neither sun, stars, or moon.
Yeah.
Of course, you're gonna say the God brought his God is the light or whatever. I don't think it makes any sense. Like from the first page when I read that, okay, how can I can trust book of math if I gonna see on the first page that says 1 + 1 = 5? You know, I'm gonna throw that book right away.
So yeah, I mean that's one way, and that question I raised it myself a few times about light being created before the sun.
Yeah.
Since for us, sun is what gives us light, but we have these lights here too, and there's no sun coming through the roof here, so the light exists even though sun is not coming through.
Man, if
So
you're gonna break it down, we can bring some kind of scientist who will explain you how it works because it has a cables connected, someone made it.
right. But it's light, right? It's light, even though it's not sunlight. It's still light. So light could be created without the sun being there.
By the fire.
I mean, I don't.
One of the
But
ways.
what to burn if there's no fire? Like there's nothing in the world. What you gonna burn to make fire?
Let's
Well, I
figure
don't
out,
know, but-
can we burn air?
Well,
It's
there's
gas.
different kind of gases that can burn, right? So light being created before the sun, I think there's ways around it. And the other way to look at it, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. There's like memes out there where a simple one, a 6. One person's standing on one side of the 6 and the other person standing on the other side. And one's like, this is a 6. The other one's like, no, that's a 9. No, this is a 6. No, that's a 9. Right? So like your perspective, it kind of limits you to what you see and what you understand. Here's another example. Creating a really weird shape and putting it between the light. So let's say this light, you have a shape right in the middle. This light casts a shadow and the shadow looks like a square. That light casts a shadow and the shadow looks like a triangle. So you're like looking at this thing and you're like, well, this is a triangle. And the other person is like, no, that's a square. You're wrong. No, I'm right. I know it's a triangle. And the other person's like, no, you're totally wrong. It's a square. And we have a small perspective into the truth. So it's our truth. My truth is it's a triangle. Your truth is that it's a square. But it's only your truth and my truth. The real truth is it's a shape in such a way that one perspective of it is a square, but the other perspective is a triangle.
But a lot of people claiming that Bible is foundation of their life. This is what you need to base their life, like build your life based on.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you build life based on something that can be looked from different points of view? Like if I want to build my life on something, I want to build on something that I can trust 100%. And then when you're reading a Bible, it's very rarely when it happens something when you can trust. Like there is a story when Jesus feed 5,000 people with 1 bread and 1 fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people every year die from hunger and from thirst? From hunger, 9 million people die every year. From thirst, almost 3 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me, if God is so loving, if he is so forgiving, why having all this power he has, he's looking down on those people and let them die? And here's another question. You have 5 kids, right?
4.
4. Let's say we're not going to talk about you, just another person who has 5 kids. He has no unhuman power. He just regular human person, human being. And then one of his kids get cancer, right? Would he do everything he can to save that person?
Sure.
He would probably take extra shifts at work. He would do anything he can, right? But then we have this God who is loving, forgiving, who has so much power. He has some kind of unlimited amount of power. He can do anything. He looks at his children who are dying from thirst, who are dying from cancer, who are born without committing any sin, just newborns, are being diagnosed with deadly diseases, right? And he sees all that, he doesn't do anything. So my question is, because he cannot do, because he doesn't care, he doesn't exist, right? So if he cannot do, then it put a cross on everything what Bible says, because it says that he can do. If he doesn't want to, it put it says that he doesn't love you because he doesn't want to do it. So how does it work? If there's a person who has no power, will do everything to help his kids, but there's a guy on the sky who has all the power and he doesn't help his kids. You know, sounds like bullshit. Honestly.
I mean, there's, and I'm not a theologian, so I don't have all the answers, and even all whoever the theologians are, we don't have, as a human, we don't have all the answers. But one way I look at that is, God gave us free will to make decisions. He didn't want robots. He could have created robots that would just serve him without question and so on. But he wanted somebody that would love him back without it being a forced thing. As far as kind of the innocence in the world, it's because he wanted somebody who will choose. In order to choose, you have to have good and evil, or good and bad. You can't just have all good and no bad, otherwise you don't have a choice. So in that case, like little kids dying and things like that, I mean, I don't know, if he reached out and healed them and so on, would it change something? I don't know. Like that question is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for that, but
And
no, I mean, there's right. I mean, there's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, like, so you're convinced that there's no God, like, at all, nothing.
I am. That's also, I think, what differentiates me from a lot of religious people, because a lot of religious people say, I'm 100% sure God exists. I think this is the stupidest thing you can say, that you're 100% sure of something. I can say that I'm 98% concerned that there is no God. If tomorrow there's going to be someone who's going to bring one piece of bread, one fish, and feed 5,000 people, I'm going to change my mind. I very doubt it's going to happen. So that I have 2% for that. And also you say, Bible says that God created human on
In the image of him.
on the image of him, right?
Yeah.
And do you want to analyze a human? Humans are very horrible animals. There is no society that can live without police. Can you see any society? You know why? Because we're gonna kill each other. We're gonna rob each other. That's true, right? So we're envy. We want to steal. We want to fight.
But why are we like that? Why are humans like
So
that?
that's my thing. We are created on his image.
No,
so is
but-
he the same?
No.
Right? He's also like that.
No,
And in the Bible, there are proofs that God is envy. There are proofs, because he is only one. He allows for people to have only one God, because he is envious.
No, he's jealous.
Yes, jealous.
But
yeah.
not envious.
Yeah.
You,
So
you
a
got
bit
one
different.
of the worst people to talk about that, because he's got a lot of questions about that. And he like got deep really into it.
Well, it's good to, so like I feel like I'm open-minded, and I'm willing to have that discussion with anybody. Like I'm persuaded in my beliefs and who I am and so on, but I'm open to talking to anybody about what they think. But like, just to talk about the image of man being created in the image of God. Adam was created perfect, but he chose to sin with Eve. And because of his sin, now every person who's born is born in sin, even though it seems like that baby is innocent, but there's like generational sin that comes through the baby as well.
Right.
So because of that, we're naturally leaning towards bad. Like little kids, you don't have to teach them how to steal. You don't have to teach
Because
them,
the
right?
instinct. We are animals.
Exactly. Well, it's the sin in us. Like we have to actually teach our kids to do right, but to do wrong, don't have to teach it. It just comes naturally.
Last question. I think it's gonna be too long for religion, but last question. If you Google now, you're gonna take list of happiest countries. There's gonna be Norway, Denmark, Sweden. You're gonna see certain picture. And then if you're gonna look list of most religious countries, it's gonna be Afghanistan, Somalia, all that crap. So since those people are praying, they're celebrating God, why doesn't he help them? Why do they die of thirst and hunger?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing is to define what does it mean to be happy, and then the other thing is, I mean, I would agree, like the Middle Eastern. I mean, again, I'm coming from Christian perspective, so there's Christian views versus like Muslim views versus Jewish views and so on. So, I mean, I disagree with like Muslim religion, right? But
do you agree if you were born in Islamic country, you would be Muslim?
I think that has a lot to do it, but I still feel like God is sovereign enough to touch a person's heart to let them know who the true God is, even if they're inside a Muslim country.
Mm.
Yeah. Vitalii, what do you think?
My thing, like Andrew's got a lot of questions because he has people to go back and forth about it. I don't. I try to stay like
You're Switzerland.
Like I'm Switzerland. Yeah, right away when someone asking about religion, I always say that I'm not religious, and I'm not trying to prove somebody wrong, or like I define it for myself, and that's pretty much all. Like Andrew has just people around him that he has to go back and forth, and that I don't. But in terms of like for me as a religious, to me, church and religious itself has been found by people, not by God, by people to make other people follow, to make a little, to make it a little bit more strict. And basically, I do not have the exact terminology for that, but what are the 10? What are the 10
commandments?
Yeah, exactly. All of them are good. Like I have nothing against those ones. Like don't steal. Don't kill, share with your friend. Like I'm not sure, like 10 of them, but like all of them are good. I have no issues with that. I will follow all of them. They are great. But the thing is that most of the religious people are not following them.
Yeah.
And I'm not religious, and I follow them, and they will say, "Hey, you evil." How am I evil?
Because you don't say the God is your
yes,
savior.
again, because I'm not saying that the God exists and I go to church. Like that's my thing. That is like, I'm a good person. Like there's people that I know that like abuse their family, they drink, like they do not act the way Christian people act. And I act like that person, but I do not say I believe in God and like church exists. So I'm just like against, that influence that like you have to be in church, you have to believe in God to be a good person. Like you could be a good person without believing in God and saying that God is out there. That's my thing. Like
but
behind
for
the
this,
scenes.
you'll still go to hell.
What's up?
For even this, you still go to hell. That's what
For saying that?
No, for living like that, because you don't agree that God is your savior.
Yeah, so like that's my thing. Like it's just like it doesn't make sense to me. Like I know people that haven't lived a good life and they are religious and like they go into a good place on heaven, and I live a good life and I respect my family. I deliver to my family. I do not do anything wrong, and I'm going to hell. I don't agree with that.
Well, I think maybe there's a way to look at it in a slightly different. Like, if you believe in God, and you want to be around God, and you want God to be in your life, then when your life ends here on earth, you wanna be around God. You want to be in heaven with God. But if you don't believe in God here, and you don't really want His like support or involvement in your life, then you don't really care for heaven. And as far as hell, I mean, we don't know. Do people actually go eternally to hell, or does God just kind of ceases those people to exist completely? Like there's the debate even within that. And in that case, it's like if you don't want to be around God now, why would you want to be around God in the afterlife?
And I don't. Like that's the answer. Like I care less about heaven and hell than about anything else. Think that I'm gonna be just buried or whatever happened to my body, and that's pretty much all that's gonna happen.
But I think having God is helpful for a lot of people, for a lot of societies.
100%.
It's like when we are kids, we have parents us telling what's good, what's not. When you're growing up, your parents don't have this much authority over you, so that's why the God come into play. You have somebody more powerful than you that helping you to guide you in the right direction. And I think there's some people who will not make it without God. Like they have to think that there's somebody is watching them, and it will help them to do better. When we have painters coming for interview, when they say that they believe in God, I like that better, because I feel like, oh, I have extra supervisor over them.
People that go to church and religious are great people. Like there is nothing like great people, but the way it's just like being like you have to be like a lot of people, like you have to be, why don't you believe in God? Like that's what bothers me a lot. That's what
I don't think they're great people. I think they're just group of random people, like just random. And I talk too much about this. But if you take, let's say you take group of people who went to Harvard, right? There's going to be a lot of commonality between them. They're going to have probably good speech, better than I have. They're going to have really good vocabulary. They're going to have probably a pretty good future. They'll have good jobs. They'll have good friends, right? Then if you take a group of runners, you're going to have something in common. They're going to have strong legs, strong heart, good group of people, good friends, good discipline. Then if you take a lot of people, group of people who drink a lot of alcohol, there are going to be a lot of things in common between them. They're going to have bad liver, bad relationship with their friends, with their family, and so on. If you take 500 people from church, there's nothing in common. They can be bad, they can be good. They can be smart, they can be stupid. They can divorce, or they can live happy life. There is nothing in common. So that's what also makes me think like that thing doesn't do anything. And then if you take in the matter of countries, like I said earlier, why there are countries who are so religious but they don't succeed? Like why those people died from hunger if they're so religious? You know, probably there is no God. And the thing is, it's hard to prove something negative. Can you prove that fairy tale, як буде, я не знаю, any Harry Potter doesn't exist? Can you prove that? You cannot. Because
Right, you can't prove.
it's almost impossible to
You
prove
can't
negative.
prove a negative.
You can
Right.
prove positive. You can find reasons to believe that Harry Potter exists, right? You can find reasons to believe that God exists. So until this point, I'm 28 years old. There's zero reasons to believe that God exists. And if you analyze your life, I'm sure, like any person, if you look at it sober without putting pink glasses on your eyes and filtering through your religious through a previous life, I don't think there is any person who can say that I have the proofs of God's existence. Only those who grow in a religious family or stuff like that.
I mean, just to kind of touch on what you said about people who go to the same church have a variety of experiences and not really have much in common. I think that has to do with how they approach God. Like you mentioned, where people like trying to force it on you, right? To force you to believe it or whatever. Like God is not looking for that. God, like again, maybe Muslim kind of religions, like okay, you have to convert or die. But Christianity, God doesn't want people who don't want Him.
What do you mean? It what it says in the Bible that it's gonna come when everybody admits that God exists, right? The God's gonna come to the earth when everybody on earth know about God.
Well, when the word is spread out.
Yeah.
So when you hear about the truth, about what Jesus, how He came, He died, He rose again. When all people kind of hear about it.
So
Sure,
he's
but-
forcing everybody to know about
No, He's not. Well, He's not forcing you to choose Him. He's just spreading the word out. Like right now, there's internet. Like anybody who wants to know can find out, right? Like through internet, through other people talking about it and stuff like that. But you're not being forced to become a Christian or anything like that.
Yeah, but you're being forced to spread the word to tell other people.
You're not forced.
Well, but if you're really Christian, you want God to come to earth, so you want to tell everybody about God. So that makes you forced.
No, you want to tell other people because of your experience what God did for you, not because God is making you or forcing you to do it. So it's more like you experience something great and you want that experience for somebody else.
Well, I'll tell you, Andrew, you know what? We're not gonna paint any church anymore.
That's all right.
We've painted a few churches in the past. I think that's it. We're finished with painting churches, man.
There are a bunch of schools, man.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely an interesting topic, but we can transition to your company.
Have you had anybody talking about not against, but just like the conversation that we have had back and forth?
And not like at this extent. I've talked to other people who may not believe in the God of the Bible, but they believe in a higher power, kind of a thing. But yeah.
Which is cool. Whatever helps, right?
Well, it's not just whatever helps. Like I don't believe in God because I believe, because I think God is a fairy tale, and that's why I believe in it. Like I believe that God is real. That's why I believe, not because I hope he's real. Like I'm convinced that he is. Just kind of even through nature, like again, looking at how things work, how a leaf grows, how there's like repetitive things. You look at the leaf and it looks like a tree without leaves, or like our veins and all of that. Like there's so many repetitive building blocks throughout everything that it's like how it just can't be random. Like somebody had to create it, and it can't be somebody from Mars or whatever, because then who created that person on Mars or whatever other planet or whatever? No, it has to be a God that's outside of this universe.
Sounds fair. I think we had like, again, I didn't have much to prove on that. Like I'm okay with the position of anybody. I think Andrii as well. He just has more people to go back and forth on that. But I think we're all good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. Very interesting.
Do you feel or do you have these feelings because of anything negative that you experienced with like Christian people or people from other religions, do you think?
No, nothing like that. I think I have a brain to analyze. Like and
You're saying that you have no brain to
no,
analyze.
you have your own views, analyzing your own things, because the way you were grown and like opportunities you have during your life. I think I can analyze and think critically, and I think that helps me to. I'm really happy that I have enough. I think that it's good to analyze situations and give.
Based on facts, like have a fact and go of the fact, not of like somebody that some who knows who wrote something.
Right. Yeah. So every chapter in the Bible I can multiply by 0. Like everything what's written there, I can ask 3 questions. Maybe not me necessarily, but I'm sure there are people who can ask good questions about every chapter in Bible, and there's not going to be an answer.
Yeah, if you believe, let's say you have a cube and everything you know about the universe is inside the cube, and you believe that there's nothing outside of that cube, then you're gonna come to the conclusion that you come. Like I feel like I'm very analytical too, but I don't limit myself to just the cube. Like, and the cube is being everything natural, like everything you can prove with a fact, what you can see, what you can repeat, and all of that kind of stuff. What about a lot of things that have happened that are, what people call miracles, that's not repeatable? Like
right, miracles.
Not enough analyzation in that point. I think like there's every person can analyze and make their investigation and dig into it to the extent. And I think it's just not enough digging, not enough education to explain something. Yeah. And that's where the limits gets.
Yeah, and normally those miracles are very rare. Like there is a chance that something's gonna happen by accident, and I think those miracles are just accidents. Like if there is someone who help your wife cure from cancer, and you can say miracle, but what about those millions of people who die? Why miracle didn't happen to them?
Right, but that raises a different question. What I'm saying is, if a miracle has happened, doesn't that point to some greater power that helped with that?
Let's determine what is miracle. Like when I read the Bible, I can see what's miracle. When the dead person is dead and Jesus says stand up and they stand up, this is miracle. Mm-hmm. Have you witnessed anything like that?
Not me personally.
No, right? Have you witnessed when 5,000 people got fed by 1 piece of bread and 1 fish? No, right? So why do you believe that can happen because you read in a book? If you cannot even think that it can happen in real life.
Or what miracle has happened to you that or you have seen or witnessed that you can share that wouldn't say it's a miracle?
Yeah.
There's no miracles, huh?
No, I mean personally, I'm thinking like, okay, from my perspective, I haven't had such a rich experience, right? But a lot of stories, again, coming out of communism, a lot of Christians who have gone through that, how God kind of saved them, preserved them through different parts of their lives where they were supposed to be killed or whatever else, things like that. Even my dad has stories where my grandfather was taken to jail because he was a Christian, and my father was not like, he was a teenager or whatever, 16, 18 years old. So he took his mom, his siblings, and they went to a different city. And in that city, he didn't know anybody. But another person, a Christian person in that city, was given a dream saying, go to the train station and take my children in. And that guy came and saw that my father, his siblings, and mom were just there. They didn't know what to do. They were just in the station, like, just, okay, we came here, I don't know what to do. And that guy kind of took him in, kind of took care of them for a time period and stuff like that. So like even having these kind of connections, like dreams and so on, like, is it random? Is it like, I mean, it's a miracle to me. Yeah. I don't know. But no, and I'm not trying to like convert you guys or something like that. Like, I'm just kind of sharing from my perspective and just trying to learn from you guys as well.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Again, you could say it as a miracle, or you can say it as just things that you impacted and have done in your life. Because if you're gonna lay on your bed and do nothing, nothing will happen. No miracle will come to you.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do something to make things happen around you, there's definitely things are gonna be happening around you, and you can just say because that was the actions that you took, or because it was a miracle.
Yeah.
Like, we refer to actions because we took actions, certain things happen.
And just to give you a biblical story on that, it's, I don't know if you heard of it. It's called the parable of the talent. So it goes like this. So a master gave 3 people. One person he gave 5 talents, and you can call that talent as like silver coins or whatever you want to call it. But let's assume it's like coins. So he gave one person 5 coins, gave another person 2 coins, and then gave a third person 1 coin. Okay, so the first person that the master gave him the 5 coins went out and doubled that and came back later with 10 coins. The second person also doubled it and came back with 4 coins. And the third person didn't do anything and buried the coin. And when the master came back, he went and grabbed that coin and gave it back to the master. And the master was like, okay, you did great. You took care of these things. You're going to become a leader in my kingdom or whatever to do these other things. And the second person, same thing. Okay, you took care of the little things. You doubled it. You're going to become, you're going to be entrusted with more responsibilities, basically. And then to the third one, he said, oh, you're evil because you could have at least taken that and given to the bankers and earned some interest on it for me. But you didn't do anything. You were just so fearful of losing it or whatever that you didn't do anything with it. So you were lazy. So you're basically like rejected. So it's like it's a good story even for anybody, Christian or not Christian. Just kind of like, yes, you can't just sit there on your behind and do nothing in life. You got to do something. Like, and when you do something, good things happen to you. And you make mistakes, you learn from it, you move on, and so on. But yeah. So
Also, how many hours a week do you spend at church?
me personally,
Yeah.
not many.
Like how many? 1, 2?
I mean, I go on Sundays, so like whatever it is, 1
Wow.
hour, 1.5, whatever it
And
is.
how, it's plus drive, so it's like 2 hours, right?
Sure.
How many years?
Many years.
So it's like 100 hours a year, right? And how many years?
A lot. I don't know.
Like 20 years?
More than that, sure.
So it's like 30,000 hours.
Yeah.
For 30,000 hours, you could study Chinese language.
Yeah.
You could study anything, IT. Like, luckily that you found your way in life. But there's some like people who have nothing in their life. They go to church. So I think instead of going to church, what if you would take your time and studying IT? For
Well,
20 years,
I
you'd
would-
making $200,000.
I would argue the point of those people who have excuses of like, well, I don't have time to do this or that,
Oh yeah.
something good. Just look at how much time you spend on the phone.
Yeah.
Look at how much time you spend playing video games or doing nothing, watching TV shows. Like, church is the least of those
But I
worries.
just want to compare, like, what do you get from going to church? Like, for 30,000 hours you spend going to church, you get good social circle, maybe you get some kind of lessons that help you, but nothing that can be really measured very well.
There has been research that people who go to church on average tend to be happier in their life than those who do not.
Yeah, this research was done by Christian people.
I don't know. We have to look it up. Not sure if it was or not, but I've heard of it.
Well, let's move on from religion.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about your company. What kind of services do you provide? Just kind of elaborate more on that side.
Well, go first. Let's do you and then me.
What kind of services? So do you want to go from where we started, or do you want to go from where we're right now?
Let's say what you do now.
So
what do you focus on now?
To the extent of what we're doing right now, and we'll break it down by some numbers analytically. So you basically know most of the jobs that we do, which is 98%, would be a residential repaint. So it's basically people that already live in a house and they just would love to refresh, repaint their houses. It happens that we redo houses that are brand new builds, new constructions. It goes to the extent of interior painting, basically wall, ceiling, trim, everything that comes to the interior. Then exterior residential, basically everything that comes into exterior painting, exterior of the houses, siding, trim, front doors, garages, all of that stuff. Then we get into commercial, basically same thing on the outside and inside. We're not talking about commercial as warehouses, but mostly as small restaurants, clinics, few churches out there. So those kind of things. And then kitchen cabinets. This is as part of the interior, but we do have it as a separate service, as a separate team handling just kitchen cabinets, because the process is a little bit more complex. And kitchen cabinets is basically like a separate territory. And then we just got started basically a month ago with concrete coatings. It's the older version of that would be calling epoxy floor. Right now, what we do is it's called poly coatings. Everything that starts with a polyurea as a base, polyaspartic as a top coat, polyurethane, and everything that's poly basically. So and that's also could be on the interior or exterior. A minor carpentry is involved all the time. So there is a minor carpentry that could be done on the exterior or interior. But mainly it's a painting. If we're going to be talking about 2023, the most of the projects that we have done have been on the interior side of things, then followed by the exterior, and then followed by the cabinets, percentage-wise. So that's the services we offer. Maybe longer than you wanted the answer, but
No. As long as you want to take.
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
How can people reach out to you?
People can reach out multiple different ways. The most common way that we get people reach out to us is the form submission over online. So there's multiple channels of advertisement that we have in place, and through all of them, it basically comes to a form to be submitted. So people, in most of the cases, just submit the form. A lot of people would love to call and talk just to a real person and schedule consultation via just a phone call. Very rarely we get any emails. If it goes by the referral, it usually being referred to specific salesperson, and it just being via text message or phone number. But again, in most of the times, it's just a form submission, which goes through the website and goes to our email and goes to our CRM system, which we have office person then follow up and give them a call right away after we get the form submitted.
And what areas do you service? Like what's your coverage?
So our shop and office located in Min Hill, but it goes to the extent it mostly south of the Charlotte area. So we're gonna go from Min Hill, going into the Matthews area, going into Ballantyne, Indian Trail, go into Waxhaw, and Marlin area has been a huge area recently. We go into downtown area, zip codes like 2827, 28208, anything that along of the Providence Road. Of course, we're gonna go outside. Like right now, we're doing the project like hour and a half away for a repeated client with a bigger project. So we'll go to the extension of our radius, but I would say about 20 radius from Charlotte area as a base.
Mm-hmm. And anything else you want to share with the audience?
About
Anything.
Anything. Andrew, would you like to share anything about maybe religious?
No, I don't have nothing to add. I think you covered the entire question. I think I'm good.
What we would love to add, I mean, not something that we really would love to share. We definitely grateful that we have been doing it. We've been doing it for the last 4 years. Definitely grateful for what we're doing. We feel like we never felt like we forced to do work, and I think this is the biggest part of what we're doing. We love what we're doing, and we would love to see how it grows, and would love to grow what we're doing. Not from the perspective just making money, but from the perspective of making a good impact on business in general and people that work with us. And we always say people work with us. We never say people work for us, because that's not the way we go about it. People that work with us, they work with us, and they part of what we're doing. So we definitely grateful for what we have been doing, and gonna keep going.
Awesome. What do you think the world needs more of today?
It feels like a question for Joe Rogan, man.
It's hard to say what world needs. I can say in our industry,
Okay.
it's we've heard a lot that people complain that painting industry is not professionalized yet. So if you look into HVAC, you can see that all those people have really nice vans. They're most of the time like really professionalized companies. They have really good system in place. But when it comes to painting, it's most of the time two guys in a white sketch van.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is to change that. We want to have professionalized company that people can trust on. We're not Mercedes in the painting business. We are good, reliable Toyota. Maybe coming to like a little bit to the Lexus. We give really good reliability. Do we screw up projects? Sometimes. I want to say all the time, but no, not all the time. Like every 20th job we have problems with, but then we're gonna come back. We're gonna fix it. If we're not able to fix it, we'll give discounts. But I can assure you that there is no customer who work with us and say those guys are assholes or they had any bad aftertaste of working with us. So I really think that this is what people need in our industry, is to have really good, reliable company that they can trust, and we're working on providing that.
And it feels like it goes with a lot of construction companies that doesn't require licensing. I would say, because people complain about painters in general, but people also complain about some other stuff that people do, and carpenters and everybody else. So professionalize the business with the organizations like PCA, and there's people that just like passionate about like just improving the business side of painting.
And another thing I wanted to say is also, I found that as one of my goals is to show painters that it's cool to be painter.
Mm-hmm.
Like people have this kind of look that, oh, painter is someone probably who smokes marijuana, drinks after work, and they don't really have good lifestyle. If you look at the painter, like there's no kid who looks at the painter and says, oh, I want to be like him when I grow up. You know, I would like to change that and create really good working environment for people when they can make good money, have good lifestyle, and just be part of be a good part of society.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow we have event for our painters. Like we rent a huge house in the lake. We're gonna have a party with them. We always have trainings for our employees. We always have some kind of events. We have Christmas parties. We always give them trophies for good work. So we're trying to give them that idea that people value them.
Who do you celebrate at Christmas?
Huh?
Who do you celebrate at Christmas?
Who do we
Just Moros.
That's a good question, actually. We just celebrated for sake of celebrating, man.
Yeah.
Man, I never asked this question. Like, Christmas is celebrating Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, man. Jesus, not Jesus. Jesus.
Wherever it is.
I know in Ukraine, like we had Snezhenka and Did Moroz and all that, right?
Yeah,
For
but
New
for
Year.
New Year's,
For New Year,
right?
not for Christmas,
For
right?
Christmas, yeah. It's just a whole big holiday it's a family holiday.
Yeah. But one question I missed, maybe we can catch up with it. I saw that you guys are into jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah,
A little bit? At least you are.
both of us.
Both of you, okay.
He's
You like,
more advanced than me.
I'm the former jiu-jitsu player.
okay,
I
okay.
was the first one that's like, we have a group of friends that does it. I was the first one to start that back and forth
He's
that.
brown belts. It's like next is gonna be black.
Okay.
And
So
I'm blue.
what's it like, in it? Like,
Jiu-jitsu?
It's
Yeah.
like church, man. It's like it's like a community, like-minded people. What hooked me on that, and then Andrew probably as well. It's the community that you go there, and you just like when you have an issues, like you don't think about those issues when you go there. Like it's a stress relief. Like if I wouldn't go to jiu-jitsu or do any sport, like it would make my life probably miserable inside. So it's just a great community where you have great people, and you develop some skill, because jiu-jitsu is a skill. It's not a physical martial art. It's a skill that you have to develop through a numerous of trainings, and belts basically is something that gives you an idea that you developed yourself a little bit into that. But it's just a place where you develop skill, you have friends, and you choke each other, and you have fun with that. Like you really enjoy to, like it's called rolling. So you're rolling with somebody, you choke somebody, you break the arm, and then like you best friends. It's like that's the feeling, and you're like, hey man, thank you so much for the roll. It was great. And somebody chokes you, like that was good. So it just like gives you that fulfillment of, I know, being an athlete, I guess. That was good.
Yeah, and I see that a lot of people to entertain themselves, they play PlayStation or play on a computer. For me, jiu-jitsu the same thing. I don't have to push myself to do jiu-jitsu. Like when I'm planning my runs, I have to be like, oh, I have to go for a run. Like I need to make this time. When it comes to the jiu-jitsu, it's so natural. I want to do it. It's good for me, for my health. Also, a lot of times when you watching coach showing the right move, I feel like I'm in the algebra class. Like it's so difficult. I'm trying to memorize everything, how I put my arm. This and this makes big difference. You put thumb up, thumb down. It all makes huge difference, and you need to remember that and then implement that in your next move.
They always compare jiu-jitsu with playing checkmats, right?
chess.
Chess. And that's what it is. It's basically like to one certain move, you can have 5 different ones to encounter that, and you have to basically predict, okay, what will happen if I go this, and your opponent will do that, and you basically have to go through a few moves to figure out, okay, what's gonna happen.
So you're keeping your mind sharp, not just your body with it.
Oh yeah,
Definitely,
100%.
100%.
100%.
Have you played any other sports? Do you like any other sports?
Yeah, I've played soccer since I was 6 years old. And can you imagine, like, it's going back to conversation about the parents. When I was 6 years old, my dad told me that it's too late for you to go to play soccer. When I was 6 years old, he was just like too lazy to get me somewhere. So my grandma did. So I played soccer since 6 until like 16. I still play like every Tuesday, Thursday occasionally. Here, actually, in Indian Trail, there's a place for like a mini soccer games. Still go play there. Andrew did something cool too.
Yeah, I did fencing back in the school, but I didn't like that a lot. We had options doing fencing, or there was like gymnastics. So I picked fencing and I stick with it. I had really good time because we would come to the training and our coach would ask us, what do you guys want to do today? Play ping pong, play soccer, basketball. So we didn't do much fencing. It was more like entertaining.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Well, for fencing, I don't know the name, the Ukrainian girl that
Olga
won it.
Harlan.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's good.
that's cool. Yeah, guys. Any other things you want to share before kind of ending this?
We can get deeper into like business, what we have, what kind of systems we have, how we work. If it's
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about that? Like how we structured? I think it's kind of interesting, at least for me.
If you would love to, like, my point was I really have to go. That's the whole thing. Like I would love to have the conversation.
We can have a part 2.
We can go about it, but like I really have to go.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we're gonna end it then because
Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for sharing a lot of info about different things, having a little debate on religion, Christianity, and so on. So that was fun. But yeah, thanks guys.
If you know, if everything goes very smooth, it's not as interesting to watch when you have back and forth. So
Exactly.
that was good. But thank you for having us. It was fun. It was.
It's a great experience. There is a lot to learn, improve, and I think it's gonna be a good start for us.
Now what we're gonna do is just gonna go to different podcasts and just like talk about it.
No.
There you go. Awesome.
All right. Thank you
Thanks
so
guys.
much.